Hi, I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you for sticking around. We've got on the line, really pleased to be joined, I think from New York. We've got Lydia Lunch and Beth B. Ah, there they are. Hello.
Thank you for having us. Glad to be here.
Oh,
Hello, Sheffield. Wonderful to be here. We've been waiting a year.
I know. I know. I didn't explain in the introduction, but maybe I should. So this is a screening that, had the pandemic not happened, should have happened a year ago, like today. So we've been talking this whole time since like pre-pandemic about bringing The War Is Never Ever here. And yeah, so just can't say how thrilled I am that we finally managed to make it happen. So you can see me and hear us okay, Lydia and Beth?
All is perfect for me. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. You look divine this evening, my dear.
Ah, you do too. You do too. Thank you.
Ready to go. Ready for some questions. Hope you guys were enraptured with the film, as I was for many years with Lydia Lunch. Ongoing since I was 23 years old and she was 19.
See, that's exactly where I wanted to start. Was you two have had a long-standing like collaboration. Yeah, please tell us more about how that started.
I saw her on the stage. What more is there? Teenage Jesus and the Jerks. She frightened the hell out of me. I said, "Who is this? Who is this young woman?" With the leather mini skirt, or maybe it was rubber. I'm not sure. I don't remember. The breasts.
Wet look.
And the mouth. Gorgeous. And what she said, really, I found inspiring, shocking. And I needed to meet Lydia and cast her in the film Black Box. And from there, it's been history working with her over the course of 40 years, on and off.
And Lydia, how yeah. Tell us from your end.
Well, I think that I don't remember my first meeting with Beth, but I do remember when we really hooked in was Teenage Jesus had a residency at Max's Kansas City, and I invited Beth to show some films. So every Monday for a month. But instead of showing films, she decided to make films every week, and I was very impressed with that. And also her films at that time were very political, which I would say that Teenage Jesus in a sense was political, but I hadn't really gone into political spoken word yet. So it just seemed very natural. Everybody was collaborating with everybody at the time. And over the years, Beth and I have done many different kinds of collaboration. I'm always asking her, what about part two? That is it.
Part two. It's true. This film in some ways, you know, it's such a, Lydia's history is so vast, and the amount of work that she's done and the impact that she has had along that journey is quite incredible. And the challenge, I think, was how to condense that down into a film that had the kind of energy, aggression, and political messaging that Lydia has. So, you know, part one, this is it. Part two, you know, life goes on. We're going to continue to live another 40 years, Lydia.
I always said I will probably be the oldest living woman of her age. I'm just amazed that Beth was able to actually condense 43 or so years of creation into 75 or 80 minutes, because her job, I had already done my job. Her job, she did a heroic job of it.
Well, I also had a lot of incredibly generous people like Jasmine Hurst and all the photographers who contributed to the film, the archival footage, which was extraordinary. And it was really trying to cull from that. I wasn't really interested in making a biopic. That's not, to me, that's not what this film is about. It's really trying to understand a kind of a history, that the history of Lydia, and prior to that, prior to, our generation, women have struggled to be able to scream as loud as Lydia does. And it was critically important to be able to follow her journey and to hopefully inspire young women and men, old and young, but especially young women, to help them to understand that there has been this long history. And sometimes I have to say to myself, okay, Beth, if it is hysterical, it's historical. And I think that a lot of women's stories and what they go through, we come out of it feeling hysterical, and society tells us it is hysterical, but it is not. It is historical. So that was what
Beth also, the origin of the word hysteria means from the womb.
Yes.
And hello, I'm not only speaking from the womb, I'm speaking from the wounds that women have been affected by historically, which is why my target has always been the father, the patriarchy, God the father of anyone's country, and just the systemic abuse that women still, not only women, of course, we also know people of color, any color, have faced. That's always been my target. And yeah, hysterical. Certainly, I've been too hysterical and historical for many people. Tough.
But that is how we gain insight. We gain insight, but by looking at the history, learning from the history, bringing it into the present to not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So I'm wondering are there questions from the audience?
I just need to jump in to remind people that if you want to ask questions, we're doing it via Slido. So if you go to slido.com, it is really easy. You just need to put in that code, the 467658, and they come up. But sorry, we have had some questions come through already. Actually, hilariously, one is when will you have new merch out? Which merchandise, which I can see behind you, Beth.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
One was one question was about when will you have new merchandise out? Which the merchandise is sitting just behind us.
The merchandise is right here, but we sold out. So we're getting more made, and we will have posters. If you go on the website, lydialunchmovie.com, go there. And eventually we will get the merch up there. And Lydia's going to be in the UK traveling with the film. There will be merch.
Also, there's the Nick Soulsby book, which is an extrapolation and an exaggeration of interviews that were in the documentary, and it's available in the UK. It came out in the UK, and it's about yay frickin' fat. And Nick Soulsby did an amazing job. There will be more tote bags. What about the merch? I love that part.
I mean, we do have another question here about what was the joint turning point or trigger for the collaboration? I guess at what point did you know you needed to come back together to make this film?
Well, let me just start by saying this. People have approached me for many years about doing a documentary, and I've always said no. And I've been in a few other people's documentary, and as a sideline, I'm the only one that gets paid to be in other people's documentaries, because even though a documentary is not a profit-making consideration, I don't really need to talk about my part in other people's histories. And I'm just amazed that more artists don't demand to get paid. But Beth, I knew, and first of all, I'm not dead. Why do I need a documentary? But I knew Beth has been with me and following a similar path in the fact that we're both ruthless, relentless. We continue to do a multiplicity of different art disciplines. Again, she started with political filmmaking. I love that she wears so many hats. And it just, when she approached me, because she had done a documentary, also she worked on crime TV, which really fascinated me. It's one of her many arts. A documentary on her mother, a documentary on alt burlesque. And when she approached me, and especially in this time of Me Too, of cancel culture, it was important, and she was the only one I would trust to do it.
And I guess when you had those kind of early conversations, I guess particularly thinking about, the young women that you spoke of earlier, I guess, what is it that you really hope audiences take from this? You know, this film has been a long time coming. We're finally seeing it here in the UK. And if we've got young women in the audience and watching online, what is it that you hope that they take away?
I'm going to jump in. My career and life have been a long time coming, and I don't feel it's only related to this lifetime. What I hope, and I've always hoped that my words do, is tell people that are outside of many parts of society that are alt-sex, alt-philosophy, non-religious, or starting their own religion, that feel as if they have an anger they can't express. And we should be frickin' angry, because there's a lot to be angry about. And there hasn't been many previous examples of women who have voiced aggressively, passionately, and poetically. So I'm not a solutionist, but I will illustrate the problems. And also I hope that it shows women that there's not just one way to express yourself. None of my music sounds the same. I'm a musical schizophrenic. I want people to pick up a tuba. I want them to do to me, if you don't have a vision, don't give it a sound, you should still create. But you have to go outside the box and also become an architect, a chemist, a doctor, anything to express and to fill the void in society and culture that is absent of our influence, which would make the world a much better place. Women must have a voice. And if I have to be the voice for so many that have similar feelings, and I'm not the voice for everyone, because most people can't frickin' take it. And that's why, because reality is reality is rough. When I first started speaking about war under Ronald Reagan, people thought, oh my God, you're such an exaggerator. How can you exaggerate war? And I guess this is the biggest thing that really bothers me about, look, I canceled the mainstream. They didn't cancel me. Is you can't exaggerate about war or trauma or abuse or about your outsider status. You can't, there's no exaggeration about it. So if I am the voice for others that have a mouth but feel they have not found the words to scream, that's all I want to bring to the table. Beth?
Yeah, I think it's also, most of my films have to do with voicing the unheard, those who are disenfranchised. But also it's to, in a way, inspire people to understand anybody can go out and be creative. And what I think some of the most exciting the film has not been shown very much because of the pandemic. We showed it, I think, 3 times, and then the pandemic hit. And then we've had a couple screenings since. But I have had young people in the audiences reaching out to me personally and saying, this was so inspiring, your work, Lydia's work, that I have gone and created my own work based on, it's almost like, in a way, giving people permission. And people should always have permission, but unfortunately in the society and the cultures that we live in, there is this sense of what is normal. And if you are anywhere outside of that, people end up feeling constrained, restrained. And in some ways, I hope that the films that I make and the voice of Lydia Lunch helps people to release that, unleash that, and not to feel the inhibition, not to feel that they have to censor themselves, their concepts, ideas, fear of being judged. Just do it. And that's where I really started making films, was with the attitude, just do it. I didn't know how to make films. I went to art school. Coming out of art school, I was like, art sucks. It's so precious. Everybody goes in a white gallery and you have to be quiet. And I was not like that. So I took a Super 8, tiny little Super 8 camera, didn't know what I was doing, and started making films. So when people say,
exactly,
I don't have the money.
But I have to interject for a minute.
Go ahead, interject.
First of all, I have had, look, thank you for coming to see the film, and thank you for supporting, but I was never looking for the love of an audience, or I was never looking for acceptance, because I didn't accept what was going on around me, okay, historically, politically, socially. So I didn't go into creating thinking I was going to be and I am not a popular figure, and I've had a lot of hatred as well as love in my direction. Trust me, I've killed a forest of trees in positive and negative reviews. The point is this: I don't really care what the opinion is of the mainstream or even the average person, because I am speaking for a minority of people that need to have a place that might offer them some relief, by an opinion that is different and is not seeking to create in order for celebrity or fame.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. I
And
have
that's
walked
a lot
sideways and I have crab walked through my career. And the thing is, I'm no more popular now than I ever was, and I don't care if I ever am. Because I am here for the minority of intellectual minority, philosophical minority, sexual minority, political minority. And if that's 10 to 100 to 1,000 people or more, I don't want it to be to a stadium. And once it gets to that level, I'm doing something wrong. Except for this arena.
And speaking of those people, I think we have, we have a number of questions coming through. So I am going to jump in with a couple, if that's okay. We've got a really good one here about the no wave influence. So, I'm really interested in, this relationship between no wave music and no wave filmmaking. And we've got a question here that asks about it's asking that no wave's influence has been so influential on other scenes. And did you ever expect that no wave would be so inspiring to future music? But I want to also extend that question also to film.
I'll let you take that one, Lydia, because I know you have a lot to say about that.
First of all, tomorrow I will be I'll be reading a piece about no wave when I do an interview with Kathy Unsworth about the film. That's tomorrow, the Sheffield DocFest. First of all, it's been claimed that I invented the term no wave because I was anti everything, and this much is true. What no wave means to me is not audience friendly, outside of the norm, radical to some degree, and it involves, at that time, it could involve filmmaking and painting and music. I don't feel that no wave has had such a humongous impact out in the real world because it's more of an attitude, and it does relate back, at least in my opinion, as the queen of no wave, to the surrealist, to Dadaist, to the Viennese actionist, to any, and very few, I'll just say those three, Dada surrealism, same thing, and Viennese actionist, that were against almost everything but had to create something that represented that which has not been voiced yet. And that might have a bit of ridiculousness in it because, look, although my art is serious, I'm the funniest fucking person I know. If you have to block out that word, I'm the funniest person I know because I can't take any of it serious because it's all ridiculous. I don't see really the effect of no wave on mainstream. If the effect does exist, I hope it's the effect of the attitude, which is you create not for popular demand, but because it burns in your blood to do so. And you are following a trajectory in history of chronic outsiders. Beth?
You said it all, honey. What can I say?
Tune in tomorrow for my reading about No Wave with Kathy Unsworth. I don't know what time it is.
Yes, please do that. But I mean, it was also at a certain time in New York City, the word no wave, new wave, all of that. I mean, that's just designed by people wanting to put it in a box, label it.
Beth, I termed no wave as opposite of new wave.
Okay, yes.
It's a box that really nothing exists. It's an empty box.
An empty box with Lydia inside, of course, please. But for me, okay, coming out of the filmmaking scene at that time, it was really a lot of people who were working without any concept of what we were doing. We were not conscious of what we were doing. There was no choice. And I think that is, for me, where a lot of things came from was, and what Lydia said, a burning desire. It wasn't like I could sit with it any longer. And luckily, in the late 70s in New York City, there were a lot of similar, like-minded people. I felt like I found my tribe, and we were from varying backgrounds. We used different, mediums from, theater. Some people were coming out of theater, film, music, art, performance. And what was great at that time also was that it was not about specialization. People started to collaborate, to work in a way that it had been done in the past, but I don't think with the same kind of vision and intensity. And my films are all, a lot of them are about a kind of intensity. And maybe that is the no, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going.
Absolutely, Beth. And also, we were not, for instance, It wasn't covered that much at the time. In retrospect, it becomes a nostalgic ideal. But because also we were created at such a ferocious pace, you making films every week for a 1 month long showing at Max's Kansas City, collaborating with so many different people. The last thing on our mind was popularity, press, or even an audience. And again, it was for one reason and one reason alone. If we didn't do it, if we didn't create, we could become homicidal. I'm just talking for myself, of course.
And Beth, we've got like a kind of follow-up question to that, which is about how have you adapted your style of filmmaking to modern technology? How do you carry the punk or no way philosophy in such a clean-cut technological field?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not even a question because, again, it relates to attitude. So every film that I make, it has a kind of intensity. You know, I was working in, Super 8, then went to 16, then went to 35. And each time there's an adaptation technically. But to me, the technical is really not that important. And, and that's why I say this tiny little Super 8 camera, I still work with a tiny digital camera. And that is because there is an intimacy that exists when it is me with my camera without intervention, no mediation. I am there with my character. I am there with my subject. And I think that the technology is in a way what obstructs intimacy. So in a lot of ways, I don't embrace the technology, except that oddly enough, I never thought I could edit. And my co-producer on my film Exposed basically forced me to edit the film. I was like, I can't edit because I didn't know how to edit digitally. I was so scared of it. And it was really overcoming that and realizing now I love to edit. I feel like it is part of my body. And in making a documentary film especially, it's so critically important for me as the director to edit my films and to be there.
Beth, exactly. And I want to jump in and say this. Our doc went through a few edits, and you arrived to me at the perfect conclusion. And only you could have done that because, again, back to the intimacy, you had intimate knowledge of your subject. And I also want to say, I prefer Super 8 to anything because to me, it adds, especially Super 8 black and white, it puts film in another realm as opposed to the hyper reality of video, which I can't fucking stand. Thank you very much. I love Super 8, and I think that people should also go back to making 10-minute long films because Super 8, if possible, because they look great. It's its own specific art form. Also, you're talking about the intimacy. I think that my performances, my music, my spoken word performances are all based on an intense intimacy that some people just can't stomach. That it goes to the root of intimacy, and which is why spoken word is still my priority in creating, because I'd rather perform to 50 people that are really getting it than to 500 that only 4 are getting it. Because it is an intimate form of communication.
And for young people also, I really want to encourage you to trust your intuition and only listen to those people and bring your work initially when you're working on it in the process to people who you trust. Because I also teach, and I realize if I'm bringing something that is about Lydia, and I'm bringing it to somebody who's right-wing conservative, forget that. You really have to find, I say, your tribe. Find people who you can connect with and who you trust, and use your intuition. And that's always what has served me. And don't try to second guess anything. Just go back to yourself.
It's also one reason why I find doing workshops for me are very important to encourage. Originally, I was doing workshops for women only, for writers. Like, you write, how do you perform? And it was very empowering for the people that came to the workshops because we don't have sports or war. We have this coven to perform the poetics, and a lot of women do keep journals, do make diaries, do have something to say. But it's also a safe place to create, to perform. And look, just because you create something doesn't mean it has to be exhibited on a public platform. If it burns in your blood, you create it, and you don't need. The thing is, an audience is a byproduct. If you have one, amazing. Don't count on it, though. I never did. And trust me, 5 people or 500, all the same to me, I'm going to do it.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid I think we're going to have to leave it there.
Fantastic.
But I'm so sorry, but it's been a pleasure to speak to you both. I know that we've had a number of questions that we haven't managed to get to that I know have.
I really hope that the film answered a lot of questions. And the main point is this. You know, I hope you're inspired by the fact that somebody has the balls enough to protest against everything that tries to put their thumb on our head and keep us down. That's really the whole point of what I do, is just break free. And at the end of it, and the end of every day, enjoy yourself. Because pleasure is the first thing they steal from us. And as women, we really need that. Take it back, ladies.
We'll end there. Oh, sorry,
we'll
Beth,
end
go
there.
on.
And please look at our website. You can email me. It's even on our website. And also my private email is on there.
Oh,
we'd love to hear from you. More questions. And look for Lydia and the movie. It will be in London, Manchester, 6 cities, and Lydia will be there.
Check out the Lydia and Spin, my podcast, 99 episodes on 100 next week, and all kinds of great artists of all kinds. My public service for free.
Brilliant.
To you.
And between now and then, as Lydia mentioned earlier, she's doing a talk tomorrow online. I think it's 3 p.m.
Yes,
UK
it's
time.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. your time on a Sunday. I am so sorry.
Kathy Unsworth.
Yeah, with writer Kathy Unsworth. So we'll be in conversation again then.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much, Melanie. And thank you, everyone in the audience.
Thank you so much for the film, Beth and Lydia. Thank you.
Bye.